And welcome to episode 51 of the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. And now your trio of hosts, starting with Romina Rex. And your second host, Audrey, the roof is on fire, Ember. And your third and final host, the final boss of every level in your life, Roberto Blake. Welcome to the No Assembly Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. Please like and subscribe.
Marvelous.
Nice.
As always.
Indeed.
So, I guess, where do we start, guys? I feel like this week has been a little bit... Yeah. What was that, Audrey?
David Dobrik story.
You want to start with the David Dobrik story?
Oh, I mean, we can start with the YouTuber story
I don't know
and everything,
what's
but
going on. I don't know what's going on
but in context, we have to celebrate. We have to celebrate.
Oh, right. Yeah. So we just it's our Twitter anniversary.
And I would say technically, since we're on episode 51, isn't it also technically our, like, either this week or next week, isn't it technically our NARP anniversary? Because I think we only skipped like 1 week because of, like, at some point I think there was like holiday shenanigans or something, or was it oh wait, no, it was that we were together in person and we didn't want to do the show. So like it's literally our Twitter anniversary, and it's technically our YouTube NARP anniversary.
That sounds about right. I think maybe we got like the username and like the logo and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe like a month before we posted the first episode, maybe?
Yeah. And then we're the only reason 50.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then episode 52 is not our anniversary because we only skipped that 1 week because we were all in Florida together.
Right. Which you'd think that being together would give us a reason to actually record something decently.
No, we wanted to actually be human beings.
Right. Yeah. Also, Audrey, you're muted, by the way. You haven't said anything this whole time.
I was talking. What? Okay.
Yeah, so now you have to repeat everything you just said.
I mean, I just said facts. So nothing.
Wow,
nothing
really?
too
That's
crazy.
all you said? Your mouth was moving for like 30 seconds. How could
I don't remember.
This is the
I
most
think I just saying
consistent
stuff like.
This is the most consistent alternative like YouTube channel. This is the most consistent alt account I've ever done.
Excuse you. Are you calling us alt?
Same.
No, this is an alt account for all of us. This is an alt account for every single one of us. This might be the most consistent any of us have ever been on YouTube.
Yep.
Excuse you.
I used to be a daily channel, so I'll just say for myself, it's the most consistent I've been in years.
It's because we keep each other accountable.
Yeah,
you know?
Facts.
You can't BS each other.
Fair.
All right, I had to switch headphones because I actually couldn't hear myself.
Yeah. I'm also the only one who's never missed a show.
You know, yeah, but you also show up late.
Better late than never. Better late than never.
Excuse you.
I think I've missed the most, no? Or me and Romina even.
Even. I think you two are even.
Even. Yeah.
Even Steven.
How many times have I've only missed once?
No, you both missed twice.
Roberto's keeping score.
I keep score.
Look, it's real simple. All we got to do is just go to the. Well, there go my AirPod Pros. All we have to do is look at the thumbnails, because I made special thumbnails for when we're missing, and if it's 2 times, there's gonna be 2 thumbnails with my face missing.
It is what it is.
Wow. Yeah, KDX says you guys are each other's workout partners. I mean,
Yeah, I guess.
in a way.
I
Yeah.
wish if that were true, I'd probably have my abs back.
Well, do you want me to keep you? Because I will keep you accountable. I do not have a problem with telling people what to do.
So moving on.
Right,
so
okay,
David Dobrik.
Smooth transition.
You didn't link it in like Romina does.
Yeah.
No, I just like
because I'm the transition
Just
queen.
transitioned immediately.
Yeah, he's like, well, we're done talking about that.
we're done here. Yep, we're done here.
Wait, so what's going on with Dobrik? See, I don't really follow. I actually have a life, so I don't really follow too much about like what other people are doing.
Well, damn, that's some shade right there.
Jeez.
Well, it is nighttime here. Yeah, what's going on with Dobrik? What's happening?
So I mean,
also,
well,
Roberto,
we'll talk about what's happening.
Your background, because of the thing that you got going, like the gadgets and stuff, like the mounts that you have behind you, it just makes it look so sci-fi right now. It looks like it kind of looks like you know those the pod hotels in Japan. It kind of looks a little bit like that. Like you got like a couple pods in the back there. Like you're just gonna take a break and just like go sleep there for a sec.
Or finish conducting my experiments.
Or that, yeah. I mean, it looks a little nefarious.
Yep.
Yeah, Romina is roasting. This is the RedRomina show.
Yeah, no, it's like I've got to, I've got to find a new host body soon. So.
Audrey, are you even paying attention?
Yes, I saw. I just posted on Rusty's Instagram, and I'm done now. I'm back.
You missed what Roberto just said because you were posting cat pictures on Instagram.
I'm sorry. I'm no longer distracted.
Do you even know what he said?
Yes.
No, you don't, because if you did, you would be laughing so much harder right now.
She really would.
What do you say?
All right. Do you want to?
No, you go ahead, Romina.
He said that he was looking for a new host. He said he was looking for a new host. Audrey.
Oh.
No, I said I have to get a new host body soon. I have to get a new host body.
Oh no, I did hear that.
Like I don't know if that joke went over your head, Romina. Did it? Like, did that joke?
No, it didn't go over my head. I got it. I'm just like this is just really funny because she's posting something that's so.
Don't say irrelevant. It is very important. All right. He needs to pay rent somehow.
Wow.
Damn.
Okay. All right. So moving on from the exploitation of your pet.
Yeah. So this is not about Dobrik being allegedly canceled, which is super interesting because, like, I don't know if you guys follow H3 and Trisha, the Frenemies podcast.
I see clips every once in a while.
No.
She went all out in terms of exposing Dobrik, but that's not really what we're talking about tonight. But I couldn't not kind of bring it up because it's like, it's funny how that works on some people and not others and everything like that. But the stuff that like came out in the show was like really bad, and there was like, it was a lot.
I feel like there's a lot of really bad things, so you're gonna have to get more.
It was like, if you like, you saw the clip, right, Audrey? Like you saw I assume you saw the highlight where it's just that instead of watching like the 4-hour show, you watched like the 20-minute clip.
About David?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that was like.
I mean, she literally just. I mean, the thing is, David's untouchable, but he has done messed up stuff in the past.
Yeah, but that's the thing that's interesting to me. It's like, I wonder if even like the great D'Angelo Wallace, like doing a documentary on him would do anything at this point.
I think he just get hate.
Who, D'Angelo?
That's why he's not. Yeah.
Really?
Because David's untouchable.
That people thought that about Shane. People thought Shane was untouchable. People thought the Pauls were untouchable.
That's true. I don't know. I just feel like David has done a lot of weird stuff.
I think Keem is genuinely untouchable. I believe with all my heart and soul that Keem is untouchable. Keem's invincible.
That's true. Well, it's kind of the same thing with Trisha. It's like they're not the best, so they kind of have that reputation.
But like David is thought of as being a genuinely good. David's thought of being like a genuinely good person, and the rule is generally speaking that only good people can truly ever be canceled.
That's true. I mean, because like Trisha Paytas has been canceled probably 50 times, and she's still here because she doesn't care.
Yeah,
she just continues to get canceled.
Yeah. But I mean, someone's bringing up, is Trisha a reliable source? In this instance, she is. Because it's not contingent on her. There was like video evidence of
other people talking about it.
It was not only that, it was just all the video evidence in the world. Which was fascinating to me because again,
out there.
which is fascinating to me because I realized, if I wasn't so biased and I didn't actually like David so much and I'm absolutely biased and everything like that, if anybody else had done this, I know that I'd be done with them. Like so, there's no way. I don't get
what exactly happened.
I'll show you the clips after the show because the more interesting thing to me is the stocks thing.
Let's just say David has. It's kind of like a
sordid history,
but yeah, like this old stuff is popping up and people are talking about it, but not really because he's David. So,
but it's bad enough, and it's indicative of a current pattern of behavior that never really changed. So much as the worst of it just got somewhat buried, and then there's evidence to suggest that he actively buries things. Yeah, like you can't post certain things and clips without them being like copyright striked or whatever. It's like, yeah.
I thought it was kind of
or
shady
like actually blocked all. Actually, it's not copyright striked as much as it's blocked in all countries. That's it. It's blocked in all countries. Without issuing a strike, it gets blocked in all countries.
Yeah. I didn't really. I mean, the one thing that Trisha brought up that I guess isn't shown in the videos and isn't shown.
The Jason Nash stuff
was the Jason Nash stuff and just how he's so controlling of his friends, which I thought was kind of weird. I don't know why. I mean, Trisha's not the most reliable source, but
in this instance,
I don't think she was lying. I think she was just kind of exaggerating, which is pretty normal.
I don't even think she's exaggerating because in this case, and yeah, it's her ex, but the context in which she was talking about would not do her any favors.
Yeah. The QR puzzle was a scam. Like I didn't like that at all. I was like, this is literally gambling, in my opinion. And no one was.
By legal definition, it's considered a sweepstakes, but in spirit, it's gambling. In spirit, it's gambling. In spirit, one can make a legitimate argument for why it is a scam, but in theory, people go into it knowingly. However, it is being marketed specifically at children, which should, for all the scams that get like here. All right, so this actually is a good segue because for all the things that are legitimate scams versus it's a matter of opinion or it's a matter of, you go into it knowingly and everything like that. Here's the thing. This whole hype train with GameStop, AMC, Wall Street Bets is and was essentially the equivalent of a pyramid scheme at a certain point. I didn't start out that way, but the problem is it went from a Reddit community to going mainstream without everybody being fully, truly aware. And you can't make the argument with this thing that, people know what they're doing or they should, at their own risk and all the things, because it's like the problem I have is once it went mainstream and you had influencers and people like Elon and everything commentating on it and hyping it up, it no longer was people, you just, yes, people have to have individual responsibility and do their own research, but these people are trusted. These people are looked up to. These people are authorities. And these are a lot of rich people telling a lot of their fans that they know are desperate for money during a pandemic to get in on something, knowing damn well that these people could lose and they don't have it. It was irresponsible. It was irresponsible for all these people to hype people up on stocks. Investing is not gambling. Investing is boring AF. It is dry and it ain't fun. It is, but gambling is the complete opposite of that.
Well, it's a little bit fun.
A little, if you're a nerd.
Ooh.
or if you really, really like money.
Yeah.
But which we qualify as both. So I'm insulting myself as well, if you want to call it an insult. But the thing is, this whole idea was problematic to me in a couple of ways. And I don't like to throw that word around, but it really is problematic. One, the irresponsibility of influencers and celebrities and these rich people using their platforms and offering unqualified financial advice. And on top of that, being irresponsible as hell with their platform and being, in many cases, like, you can have your opinions, but they were being sometimes intellectually dishonest and even putting out misinformation around this stuff, which is playing with people's money. And they know that if they want to put in their own money, and saying that they're not taking an equal risk. They're not taking an equal risk, because when you're comfortable or you're rich, you got to be very careful if you put out anything financial to your audience, knowing they're not in the same situation as you. So that was irresponsible. The other thing I found problematic was this was a populism thing. This was we're finally going to get these rich dudes on Wall Street. That's stupid to give people that kind of false hope, like knowing we just survived a series of like conspiracy theorists and people believing that they were going to quote unquote like get the country that they wanted and things like that. You can't put those kind of messages out there about upending or burning down the system, because one, no, people are not going to be able to do that. That's intellectually dishonest. It's stupid to make people believe they can do that. And then you're riling people up, and we just had the incident.
It's just unfair. It's an unfair game to play on people. Yeah, it's not fair. You're right. That's the best way I could put it. That's what was problematic to me. So what exactly happened with Dobrik's? So he just did he make a video about like his investment? It's like, what pending because he's not doing YouTube stuff right now, but it's gonna be. He said it's gonna be on his podcast. It'll be a funny story for his podcast, because he got in on the hype himself for $85,000, and lost it. And he was like covering it in an interview. And he's a notoriously bad investor apparently, because he says he hates investing and he hates stocks, but he loves gambling. He said this in the interview. Oh, so he did that. You know, he put in back in the day, he put in $1 million in Tesla and pulled it out. Back in the day.
That's just a sign that you shouldn't.
And according to DeFranco, the amount he put in, according to DeFranco, the amount he put in, according to DeFranco, would have been, if it wasn't for the Tesla split, it would have been worth like 13 million for the time that Dobrik had put in and pulled out. But with the Tesla split, it would have actually been considerably more at this point. So like Dobrik might have actually theoretically, and Dobrik owns it. Like, he gives away Teslas. He should know better. He gives away Teslas. Would have been like 50 million. But then he goes in on this whole like Wall Street bets nonsense and loses 85,000 for no good reason. So he's just being irresponsible. It's pretty much on brand though, right? And I like the guy.
You want to excuse it that way.
And I like the guy.
I think that's the problem. I think a lot of people like the guy. That's the problem.
I like the guy, but irresponsible is on brand for him.
I mean, it's the problem because he's just kind of, he's a representation, and he's giving this a false idea of what it's like to have that kind of, disposable income.
Whoa.
Yeah, pretty much.
You read this comment? He sounds like the Donald Trump of YouTube.
No, that would be Jake Paul. That would be Jake Paul.
What the hell? No,
that would be Jake Paul.
Jake Paul is definitely the Donald Trump of
YouTube. In fact, John Cozart did an entire dance and musical number around. Jake Paul, he's YouTube's Trump. He did a whole song and dance. I think he like had tap dancing and a cane and everything for like, yeah, you can watch John Cozart's video. Jake Paul is YouTube's Trump. Dobrik hates Trump, and Dobrik's not, and Dobrik's a DACA kid, and like, yeah,
well, yeah.
No, Dobrik's not Trump. Dobrik.
Did you see what Logan? Oh, sorry, I'm going off topic a little.
I wonder, like, theoretically, Dobrik's not Trump. Is Dobrik Paris Hilton though? That's a good question.
No.
I don't know much about her.
No, not at all.
Who is Dobrik? Like, who's Dobrik like then?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't like.
Is there a mainstream equivalent of David Dobrik?
For some reason, I want to say Pete Buttigieg. I don't know why.
They look like they could be related, but no.
The first name that came into my mind.
Yeah.
No, they physically look like they could be related, but nah.
How about Ashton Kutcher?
Maybe Ashton Kutcher. Maybe a young Ashton Kutcher. Like,
yeah.
When he, because Ashton matured very. Like when Ashton hit his 30s, he matured, and
yeah,
like
he was like, "All right, I'm done." Yeah.
Yeah, Dobrik is like the pranked era and that 70s shows era of like MTV Pranked and that 70s shows era of Punked. Yeah, that's it. Punked. Punked with Ashton Kutcher and that 70s shows Ashton Kutcher. Yes, that's who Dobrik is. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Have you seen the Logan Paul stuff with the Pokemon cards?
Yeah, I love that.
You mean like that he was like buying the
but now he's doing like a whole live stream and he's auditioning them like away and stuff on a certain day. Auctioning, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Auctioning them. That's pretty crazy because he spent $2 million on all of them, I think.
But it's raising money for charity, and the thing is, he's getting so many views, and he's auctioning them for charity. He's getting so many views, and he's actually just really super into it. You know, and he grew up with Pokemon. He's super into it, so it's legit. My friend Leon Hart is like the big Pokemon card unboxing guy. So is my friend A Drive's a big Pokemon guy, and like I think Leon collabed with him. I think A Drive's gonna collab with him. So like it's legit. And the thing is, I got nothing. Like, I have my concerns and my disagreements around some of Logan's stuff, but I applaud him for his redemption arc. I actually talked about it in an article for Business Insider. He still has me blocked on Twitter though, so
I can't get over that. That's so random.
I just bring it up because in a weird way, and I hate to say it like this, in a weird way, there is some level of accomplishment there. Like, and I wasn't even trying. He didn't even block me because of me. He blocked me because of my friend Vin. That's the funny thing about it, is I was actually being fair. I like somewhat, I don't want to say defended him. I was being fair to him during the whole Japan thing. My criticisms were even-handed. Everybody else was like really coming at him. I was fair.
I mean, that's pretty hard to do with that situation. So
yeah,
I was fair, which like, because I understand what you mean.
Roberto is usually like fair to Roberto is non-existent. I feel like
I was like, no, from your perspective, Romina, I was generous.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant to say.
From your perspective, I was generous.
Right.
Like,
Audrey, what are you doing over there? I keep seeing flashes of red.
What? I don't know.
Are you flashing the kitty laser at us?
No.
Because that's a good way to blind somebody, Audrey. But yeah, going back to the...
Swear to God.
It's a kitty toy she's flashing at us. It's one of those little things.
Yeah.
Like, all right, but going back to the thing, the hype trains, because we were talking about this in text. Like, so the hype trains with when like influencers, in general, use their platform in like an irresponsible way. But when like influencers tend to be early adopters, which means if like you get in on Dogecoin or you get in on crypto or even like some of the stock stuff, first of all, influencers, if they're mid-tier to higher, tend to have more disposable income than the people in their audience by quite a lot, you know? And then they're also early adopters and they're into the internet culture, so they might know a little about these things. But by the time something starts getting hyped up, it's too late for most people and they lose. And they lose big and they lose money they didn't have. And it's even worse during a pandemic. And more importantly to me, the Twitter hype, and the problem with the Twitter hype is no one was using kind of their qualifiers about this not being, them not being in a position to give financial advice, not being like, you know, fiduciaries, not being financial planners, not being CPAs, none of that stuff. And we're out here literally telling people how to invest their money. And these people lost. They didn't disclose, and they didn't disclose whether or not they were invested in the stock and when they got in, which means that they stand to win by hyping these people up. And so that's where it becomes a little bit of a pyramid scheme and exploitive, because if you got in super, super early, even if all of your audience got in late and lost, even if it goes down, you still probably disproportionately profited, especially if you cashed out at peak. And so driving that whole thing up, there's a level of manipulation of the audience. Forget manipulating the markets, which everyone wanted to talk about. It's manipulating your audience for financial gain. The other thing is a lot of, like, I was personally, and like a bunch of my friends told me, we were approached by a lot of these apps. I'm not going to name any of the apps, but we were approached by a lot of these investing apps and even by some crypto related companies to do brand deals during all of this. And we said no, because we thought that it would be wrong and it would be irresponsible to do brand deals where we hype up a trading app or a crypto related product during this this time of all this hype and speculation. And again, also we're in the middle of a recession, job crisis, pandemic, just transition to new administration.
All the red things, everything just bad.
Yeah, it's like, it's not, it's like, and here's the thing.
This is like, what was it? The movie, which is based on the world ending. What was it? 2000?
What, The Day After Tomorrow?
No, not that one. 2000. What was it? Was it a 2000 movie?
2012? There was a 2012.
That's the one. Yeah, the one with John Cusack.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So, yeah, it's like 2012, except they got it wrong.
Like the
no, you know what I think people need is people just need to play Monopoly more often. I think
I always win at Monopoly.
I think, okay, Roberto, this isn't about you winning at Monopoly. We're talking about
flex.
Right? He's just like, oh, I win.
Well, there's a lesson in that, but go on.
Right. But the point is, I think that maybe people need to play Monopoly more often. I think that kids should play Monopoly, like grow up playing Monopoly, because you learn not to play with toys that you don't have. You learn to not play with money that you don't have. And that's really what it comes down to.
Like, when you lose, it hurts. It's like, you can't do, when you lose in Monopoly, your options go away.
Oh man, KDX says 2020 was a sequel to 2012.
Facts.
Oh my god.
I mean, yeah, the amount of films that are gonna come out
about 2020.
2020.
But I agree with you, Romina.
Right? I feel like if people just played that game, a few times here and there, just subconsciously, they would just learn. Audrey's laughing at me.
Who hasn't played Monopoly? I feel like a lot of these people have.
Some people,
but I think if they play it more and they are thoughtful about it, because like when my family played Monopoly, we weren't just playing the play. I mean, we were playing the play and having fun, but like we talked about it. We were competitive, but we also talked about it. And again, there's a point when I learned how to beat everyone at Monopoly consistently every single time, because, and it's where my whole thing I told you guys about, where I'm like, I play the rule book. I play the mechanics of the game. I don't play an opponent. I play the rule book. And that's how I win. And I studied Monopoly, and I know exactly what my win conditions are. I know exactly what I need to do in Monopoly to win. I know exactly what I'm going to do, because the thing is, I'm not worried about what anybody else playing the game does. I'm just trying to get these conditions, and then once these conditions happen, I'm unbeatable.
I don't think I want to play you guys in Monopoly.
Oh no, you don't. Well, actually, you do. It might be fun.
Well, you'll learn how to be rich.
I don't think I've ever played Monopoly without cheating.
If you learn, if you play
just
me,
like real life.
Wait,
Roberto. Bank, you know?
Roberto, wait a second. How do you cheat in Monopoly?
Oh, there's several ways.
You steal from the bank.
You're just like sitting next to the bank. You're just like slipping 5s and 100s under your sleeve?
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
Audrey.
Like real life.
Audrey could cheat in Monopoly and still wouldn't beat me.
Audrey,
I don't know about that.
How much did you put
Audrey,
into
but it
GameStop?
goes to it goes to the entire thing we're talking about, because even with this whole thing with people thinking they were going to beat the system, how did that work out for them?
Yeah, Audrey, how much did you put into GameStop?
Nothing.
I played it smart, and I doubled my money on GameStop and AMC. I think I tripled my money on AMC. I 7x'd my money on Doge and got out. Because I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm still in Doge. Well, you still have some in Doge though.
Right? I took maximum profit and then only left the equivalent of my investment back in.
Okay. All right.
So
but
when
you
it got
still got
when
Doge.
but I had it for weeks. I had it for weeks.
Of the future. It's the currency of the future.
I had it for weeks. And that's the thing. I didn't get in on it on hype. I got in on it looking at the numbers, because here's the thing. Here's why real investing is not gambling. Real investing is not gambling because if you were gambling, you can't go to a stock machine. You can't go to a slot machine and look at how many times it paid out. You can't look at a slot machine and look at its win-loss record. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's why it's gambling. You can't go to a blackjack table and know the win-loss record of the dealer. But you can look at any stock in the market and you can see how it's performed over the last 5 years with a click of a button. If you do your research in Google, you can see what its annualized returns average out to over a 10 or 15 year period. I know for a fact that Apple has an average annualized return of 40% returns over the last 10 years consistently. There's no risk in buying Apple stock. This is not financial advice. I'm not a CPA or a fiduciary or a financial advisor of any kind. This is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research and don't listen to jackholes on the internet.
None of us, I have to reiterate that none of us, nor Audrey nor I included.
Definitely not me.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I thought we had a thing for this.
Yeah, well, yeah.
What?
Oh, you mean the little banner?
Yeah, I thought we had one that says we're not professionals.
We do not condone the use of spicy mushrooms.
This is the best.
It's the same.
But yeah, my point is, you can investing is not gambling, and everyone wanted to say that, but this GameStop thing was gambling because it wasn't real investing. Real investing is boring.
Well, because they were just trying to play a game that they didn't understand.
And the thing is, the insinuation that the hedge funds manipulate the market all the time. There are versions of that it's not because, it's these guys or it's rich. It's because they're operating within what the rules allow, but they're also not insinuating or manipulating the public when they do this in any way, and they're not inciting the public. And so it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as rigging the game the other way. And this was never about the little guy. The little guy got manipulated into investing money they didn't have and losing on this hype and off of the false promises of upending a system that has over hundreds of years of momentum behind it. And you think you're going to come in and wreck shop in a week because you're clever? Like, that's arrogant. So this was like a grift, but it's like the people who did the grift didn't even really necessarily get everything they wanted either. But it was but again, the culture around this thing is people who literally post their losses as a badge of honor.
Right.
But the public doesn't know that.
It's like getting a Purple Heart.
Yeah. This reminded me of the movie Boiler Room. This whole thing reminded me of the movie Boiler Room. And it's not that I'm rooting for the hedge funds guys. It's I'm not. But here is a truth that no one talks about. The hedge funds that everyone demonizes so much is where our grandparents' retirement sits.
Oh, you know what? I actually want to bring back something. So I think we kind of glanced over. KDX asked, "What do you think about what Robinhood did?
All
Was
of
it
them
a
did it.
legit move to cover their transactions, or was a pressure put on them by ominous forces to block buying stocks?"
Everybody is looking at like the relationship between Robinhood and Citadel, and guess what? Every single one of these apps did the same thing Robinhood did. They just did it an hour later, and they did better PR around it. Here's another difference between all those apps and Robinhood. Robinhood got 3 million users overnight, and the rest of them didn't because their apps are trash compared to Robinhood's as far as UI and UX design. And this isn't me defending Robinhood as much as defending their design. You can't look at one of these other trading apps and not say, man, this thing is unintuitive and this thing is trash. And Robinhood was first. Robinhood was first, and everyone copied their business model. So a bunch of freaking shadow clones, like, you know, came after the original and everything like that. Boo-hoo. Robinhood has a introverted, nerdy CEO who isn't charismatic, is not Tony Stark, is not some like devilish, well-talking, handsome man with like a firm jawline and everything like that. So the company deserves to go under and die because we want these handsome, slickster, grifter CEOs now. Is that what we're gonna get and everything like that? Then we deserve the damn charlatans. We all deserve to get fleeced then. If we're gonna keep being dazzled by a strong jawline, a sultry voice, a nice smile, and someone being so tall, then when we lose, we deserve it. This guy didn't do anything wrong except be very bad at communication. Oh, you like YouTube is every damn month? Like, sheesh. Like, they were bad at communication.
You know what? Look, I think it might be a little bit controversial what I'm about to say.
Webull did the same thing. Public did the same thing. Everything that wasn't an old-ass institution did the same thing.
All right, I feel like it might be a little controversial what I'm about to say, but I feel like this is kind of the equivalent of shooting yourself in the foot and saying that you went to war. It's a little bit.
Elaborate.
Right? So it's kind of like you get drafted, you're all like, oh yeah, like I'm a soldier, shoot yourself in the foot, go back home, you win, you're the hero.
I was wounded. I'm a wounded warrior.
Right. I'm a soldier. Wow. I'm already getting canceled. Hashtag cancel, you know. For being honest. I tell you the hard truth.
I don't know enough about what the Robinhood CEO did that was so
okay. So when all this was going down, Robinhood shut down trading on these stocks because of volatility.
That, why do people hate the CEO?
Because he went on to he went on to the news, was a nervous, sweating wreck.
Because he actually showed face, and he's like, "Oh man, you know, like whatever, like sorry guys, like I just had to do it because of this, blah blah blah." Like he did a formal, like he came out and talked. About it.
The thing is, it would have been fine if he had went on the news. If he had been Elon Musk, who basically in this equivalent is Zach Morris, but he went on the news and like went on these things, and he was Screech Powers instead of Zach Morris.
I don't know who Zach Morris is.
Okay, so you're not an 80s kid. Saved by the Bell. Okay, let me put it like, all right, I'll put it to you like this.
Oh no.
I'll put it to you like this.
Oh no.
All right, I'll put it to you like this. In this equation.
Well, you know the Saved by the Bell got a reboot, right?
Yeah, that's fair. All right, in this equation, Elon Musk is like the king of the high school, and Vlad, the CEO of Robinhood, is the kid who's getting beat up at the bus stop and getting wedgies.
Damn. Okay.
As I'm saying, it's like you have
the Tony Stark factor.
Exactly. It's like he would be the kid that Tony Stark was like picking on in college. He would literally be the kid that Tony Stark would be picking on in college. He literally, you know, goes onto TV and he's not charismatic. He's a nervous wreck. Like he literally would get pwned in a live interview by like your average YouTuber. That's like, but again, that's not his fault because he's just an introvert and a nerd and he's not media savvy. And the thing is, you shouldn't have to be a CEO to build and run a good company and to build an app. You should be able to be a programmer, be a nerd, be an introvert, and not have to go out and wow people and not be a slickster or, oh, you're a liar. Because what happens is we have liars all the time. They're just so damn charismatic, and and they're like, if you put a charismatic, photogenic person in front of people, they could tell you any lie that they want, because we're all shallow as we are. Let's just be real about it. Look at all these horrible influencers that can do the worst things, and everybody just looks the other way, and they like actually hurt people. They actually ruin people's lives, and they still get to have a career. And then if you have somebody who's not as charismatic, not as flashy, not as good looking or whatever, they can't do anything wrong ever. We see it all the time. So that's what our society is. Our society is just fickle and shallow. Because here's the thing. Again, Robin Hood did the same thing that Weeble and Public and all of them did eventually. And the thing is, Robin Hood was just bigger because they were first and they were number one, and everybody flooded Robin Hood overnight. You guys may not always remember like this, but like, there's a bunch of apps we've all used that whenever there's a massive influx of users or traffic and everything like that, there's an outage and a problem. As it is, Google and YouTube and Gmail and Facebook and Instagram, they go down and they have problems. The difference is, and they're the biggest thing in the world and they got all the money in the world, they go down. The difference is, yes, when that happens, we can't do some of the things we're doing that are making us money, but we're not trying to trade in real time with money when that happens. So again, if like the biggest companies in the world, if Netflix and YouTube and Google and Instagram can have outages, then why wouldn't Robinhood have an outage when it got 2 million users it didn't ask for overnight? Why wouldn't it? Right? And then on top of that, people are like, okay, so why didn't they just stop all trading if that's the case? Why the hell should I be able to buy Tesla or Virgin Galactic just because some kids want to buy a meme stock? Why would all users be punished? Like, that's stupid. Why would you punish all users for a handful of people comparatively? And by a handful, yeah, it's 2 million. But if the rest of the user base is like 20 million or plus people, why would the rest of us, why should the rest of us, because of this very vocal minority, why should the rest of us not be able to trade because of these 4 stocks? Like, why would the whole S&P 500 be unavailable to me over 4 friggin' stocks? That's stupid. And that's not fair. So don't talk to me about the little guy. Don't talk to me about that nonsense. It's stupid.
4 stocks that otherwise would be completely insignificant to me.
Yeah. Like,
I mean, really?
Yeah, no. And the thing is, like, again, do I think there might have been pressure for outside forces? I don't know. Maybe. But, like, I mean, KDX is saying, like, you should have went Jack Dorsey did, go on Rogan, brought more intelligent backup. Vlad's intelligent. He's not, but that's not the same thing as being media savvy. The media, and the thing is, it's like, oh, it's like, so, I mean, no offense to Cuomo, but it's like, okay, Cuomo is going to be the arbiter of truth and justice. Really? Like, Cuomo is going to be the arbiter and the objective voice of truth and justice here. And then you got Chalmers. Chalmers doesn't even disclose that he literally has a competitor to Robinhood whenever he goes on these interviews and he trashes them and says that people need to go to jail. Like, oh, you think your competitor needs to go? Remember how I crucify the media for not saying in every headline when they criticize social media and YouTube and influencers that, oh, by the way, we compete for ad dollars with these people that we're criticizing. You get what I'm saying? You want to talk about conflicts of interest? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think we should mention rest in peace, Dustin Diamond.
Yes, rest in peace.
We did bring up Zach Morris.
And Screech Powers. Yeah, rest in peace, Dustin Diamond. Cancer sucks.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Stupid. But yeah, I think this is something that's, again, this is frustrating, and we've kind of talked about it before, but the financial literacy is lacking so much in all of this. And I think that, and the thing is that if there is some kind of knowledge behind it, like, you don't even have to be an investor, be interested in investing or buying stocks or anything, but having the knowledge would be beneficial to keep people like this who just think like, oh, there's like something happening, like let me, jump in quick. It's like,
or just listening to people on the internet and taking their word for it.
Right. Yeah. If there was any kind of financial literacy, then that's something that like a lot of people could have avoided losing a lot of money. And just being, and again, jeopardizing people's jobs. Like we're talking about Robinhood here, who kind of revolutionized the way that an entire generation invests.
Yeah.
And
Facts.
brought so many new people into the world of investment,
and into personal finance as a whole because of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so and the idea of like having somebody just jeopardize that, it's really frustrating because I actually genuinely enjoy the platform. Like there's a couple things with the UI that really kind of annoy me. Like I hate that all the stocks are just like all of your positions are just listed in a vertical view. So if you have a lot of positions, it's like you end up scrolling
endless
for miles.
Same for your watch list instead of it being a toggle down.
Right. Yeah, I wish there was like a totally different, like it would be great if all of your watch lists were on a separate page, even like a separate tab, something like that. Or where it's just like, I don't need it to be like this continuous scrolling, but I guess like
I would also like better sorting functions, to be honest. Like, and I would like that to be more intuitive. I'd like that to be its own thing, kind of like how Amazon does.
And you'd think that the desktop, like the desktop version would have that, would expand on that design, but it really doesn't. I mean, it just does the same thing. Like it has, when you go to Robinhood on your browser, all you see, like you see the charts and like the stuff in the news and everything, but then your actual positions are again in a skinny column on the right, endless scrolling forever.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess that's kind of a good, kind of like bad position to be in, where you just have so many positions that you like are scrolling forever. But
fair. It's still better, though. You have to admit, it's still better than all of its competitors in terms of its UI.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I do like Webull in the sense that they provide more detailed information.
I like that they have more features.
Right. I do like that they have more features, and I like that you're able to customize your view according to what it is that you want to be seeing and the information that you want to receive. And they definitely get the whole, like, the horizontal view of lining up all of your positions and stuff. Like, I think they get it really well. Mm-hmm. But it's extremely overwhelming, and it's definitely not inviting for new investors.
It's not beginner friendly. I like Public as a hybrid of those. I like Public.
I still haven't tried it.
I'll get you my link.
Yeah.
And I'm verified on Public, and I'm up to 40,000 followers, and people love my post whenever I post. Even though it's not financial advice, it's just me explaining why I did something or why I added something to my portfolio or my watch list and what I intend to do. And people dig that. I like it, and I like seeing what other people are investing in. That's actually really cool to me, and seeing what their thoughts are and having conversations about finance. I like that about public.com, although I hate their logo. And so I like that a lot. Yeah. What I will say though is, speaking of like giving people links, there were a lot of people who spammed out their referral links during this, and they didn't disclose that, like, how they benefit. They just were saying it's an alternative to Robinhood that they like, and they weren't disclosing that. And these are a lot of people I know, and these are some large influencers with millions of followers, and they made thousands of dollars in free stocks and referrals and everything like that. I also know some people were sponsored and they didn't disclose that. I know for a fact that some people were sponsored and didn't disclose that, because I was approached, and so were some of my friends. Me and my friends were approached, and I'm not guaranteeing, but I know that it happened. I don't know who in particular. But I will say that I know that went down. And that's not uncommon for people to not disclose brand deals, by the way. So but I feel it's worse when it's financial stuff.
Speaking about links, we'll put our links in the description. So if you guys want to join any of these apps, you can. But if you do, we get free stocks, you get free stocks. Every app is kind of different with their incentive.
Yes.
but we'll put that in the description, and that way we can kind of share the love of the free stocks.
Yes,
I did share my link during all that, but this was like before, like this was just as it was starting, and I was like, it's kind of like whenever Doge Army is trending, and I'm like, oh man, Doge Army, if you guys want to take it to the moon, sign up with my Robinhood account.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, you get a free stock, I get a free stock. You know, it's like, it's a very simple thing to just
I always do that.
I just don't see like why, like what's the, you know, and I feel like so many people see the Robinhood thing, and it's such a common lead magnet now that it's like they established the whole get a free stock thing.
Yeah, and getting in with Graham Stephan, and getting in with the other financial YouTubers and getting in with Philip DeFranco, that did wonders for them and for their street cred. I honestly don't think the majority of people will leave Robinhood over this. You'll have influencers and people that are very, very into the culture of the internet leave over this, but that's also, I think, disingenuous, because I'm not convinced that all of them would leave over this if they weren't also going to some of the competitors and had those relationships, because I know that they're being courted. I know that because I'm being courted, and these are people bigger than me, so I know that.
Philip DeFranco say he was ditching Robinhood.
Yes.
A lot of people said that.
And he got a brand deal, and I'm not going to talk about it, and I do love Phil, but
yeah, I think
I have some feelings about that.
I just think it's so silly to do that, you know, especially like so early on, like right after it happened. It's like, oh, I'm deleting, you know, if you want a replacement. It's like, you guys don't even know what happened behind, like, you don't even know.
How about letting the SEC do their job? Because here's, by the way, these Wall Street Bets kids, some of them are being investigated by the regulatory commissions for things that, like, again, because they may not feel that they did anything wrong, and maybe the general public doesn't feel they did anything wrong because they feel like they're sticking it to the old rich hedge fund guys. That's not the same thing as being in compliance with the law of the land, and ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Ask any black person in America. So the, like, you saying, oh, I didn't know any better is not going to be an excuse when it comes to the legal repercussions and consequences of doing something. And so a federal regulatory commission looking into you is not a good time. It's not a good time. But these are the people that everyone wants to follow, and it's because they created this populism. They created this populist wave that was intellectually dishonest, saying, oh, this time we're finally going to have our revolution and everything. It never happens. It never comes. You might as well be Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the damn hill, or you might as well be Prometheus and everything like that, chained up on the damn boulder waiting for the vultures every damn day, or rather actually the eagles, waiting for the eagles every damn day. Oh, time for my daily torture. Like, if you really want to go in on this idea of, like, I'm not saying we don't need reforms, I'm not saying that I don't want things to get better and change, I'm saying I'm not so arrogant as a person, as intelligent as I am, to ever think that I'm going to somehow facilitate upending the system in a week, let alone a lifetime. That's just conceited as hell. That is arrogance beyond belief to think you're going to do that, or to think some populist wave is going to do that. Like, and to think that you're going to topple these billionaires. COVID couldn't do that. A virus that ravaged the country, ravaged the world. Ravaged the country, ravaged the world. Like, we disproportionately, I would argue, got it worse. But like ruined people's lives, cost millions of jobs, didn't have the juice to put a dent in these billionaires and these Wall Street cats, and your arrogant ass thinks that you're gonna do it with a couple of memes? That's stupid. It's arrogant. Like, anyone who thinks that they or a collective of them are more powerful than the forces of nature themselves, that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
If nature couldn't do it, I mean, wow, really?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'd kind of been, there's, if nature couldn't do it.
Like, yeah, if Mother Nature, like, was like, oh, I got something for y'all, and like came in and just like, and that didn't get the job done. What you think you're gonna somehow manage it? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna happen. even if some people lost on this and everything like that, but I think more little people lost than anybody else. You actually wrecked more of the little guy.
Right, by egging him on, by making him
false promises, false hope.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's always how it plays out, right?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's unfortunate, but that's just,
it is.
It's nothing new, you know.
It's not. I mean, look at a lot of these people who, for whatever reason, like they poured everything into some of these politicians, one way or the other, regardless of which party or whatever, right? They poured all their hopes and dreams into it. All these promises were made, and then they weren't delivered on. They didn't get nothing, or their guy or their gal lost, right? Like, okay, like you don't get the time you put in back at the rallies. You don't get the time you put in back. You don't get the money you put in back to the campaign or whatever because it didn't work out. And this is kind of like that. And if you really think about it, and there are a lot of people who say they feel they got scammed on that. And in a lot of ways it is, because when you don't look at, okay, why would something work out? Or what reason, is there any legitimate reason for this to have this associated value? It's one thing when you're going into something and that you're going to take a loss. And the thing is, if you believe in something and you want to take a loss, or you are willing to risk losing, that's different, especially if you're in a position of comfort. But the thing that bothers me about this is people are saying here cheerleading and bragging and think that these people are heroes. This is like, we have an economic crisis. Anybody who is willing to lose $1.3 million to make a point or whatever, it's like, is privileged as hell. I hate that word, but if you are so privileged that you can say, oh yeah, I could cash out now and be a millionaire, but I'm gonna take these diamond hands and I'm gonna hold because I'm gonna burn these dudes on Wall Street.
Man, the diamond hands, I can't even.
Yeah. But it's like, Romina, you and I don't know people who are so comfortable that they can like lose $1.3 million to make a point instead of using that, instead of cashing out.
No, they lose it because of bad investments or bad business.
Yeah, that's different.
Not because of.
Oh.
All right, we got a cat. We got a Dr. Puss is in the house.
The doctor is in.
The doctor's in.
But let's think about most people. Right. Most people in this country, most people in the world, most people during this crisis, this economic crisis, would not sit there and would say they're not going to take their 1.3 million or their 5 million that they made like overnight, and would not just take it and walk away and ride out high. They would not decide to lose what that could do for their life at the chance that they're going to hurt a billionaire who's still going to be rich, a millionaire that's still going to be rich, instead of changing their own life. There's almost no one in this country that would choose to hurt billionaires and millionaires rather than just help themselves and help their families. Because they're not in a position of so much privilege that they have the luxury of doing that out of spite and out of ego and out of vanity, all for a drop of clout. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's fascinating, this culture, of this, irresponsible.
Sorry.
All right, we have a cat. We have a cat in the studio right now.
Most of the companies that succeeded in the pandemic did so because of their tech ventures, not on the back of their employees. I know that's a narrative, but that's part of the populist narrative that people like Wall Street Brets use to truly exploit people by making you think that that's the case and everything like that. Amazon didn't make its money during the pandemic off of the back of the employees that feel that they were underpaid and everything like that. It made its money during the pandemic because of its global infrastructure and because of Amazon's cloud services. Amazon's cloud services and the contracts that they have with that, with all the other major tech companies and the government, is how they made their money off during the pandemic. It wasn't the nickels and dimes off of the retail goods, even at scale, from that.
I will bet that the majority of people who A, have Amazon Prime, and B, use Amazon to shop casually throughout the year have no idea that Amazon holds the majority of websites that they visit on a daily basis.
Amazon Prime has 112 million paying users. Okay, Amazon Prime, which means that the subscription model of Amazon Prime currently generates $10 billion a month, something like that. No, that can't be right. 10 billion. So 1 billion. So I think it's 1 billion. All right. I think it's 1 billion. Yeah. Amazon's subscription model for Amazon Prime generates $1 billion per month. Okay. $1 billion per month. You do realize that even with the web-based infrastructure cost of that, not counting the money they make off of Amazon Web Services, not counting the government money, and yes, the government money does come from us, but that comes in the form of taxes, which means the government would have that money whether Amazon exists or not. So that's immaterial because the government would find somewhere else in the budget to spend / waste it. The money would not. The money that the government has.
I'd rather they give it to Amazon than send it off somewhere random.
Right.
But that's just me.
Same. But like, I mean, no offense to anyone else in the world and everything like that, but like dig into the pork around our foreign aid and then tell me what we're getting back for that. Like,
right. No. And I mean, I have a travel channel. Like I'm clearly not, one who's a xenophobe or anything.
I'm a first generation American, so I'm of an immigrant family, but
right.
I mean,
yeah. And it has nothing to do with that. It's more so like,
I want an audit of the government.
Right. Yeah. I mean, pretty much.
I just want accountability and transparency for the government. Like, because again, I don't buy into all this populism because I'll tell you the truth. The truth is this: money is an expression and acknowledgement of value, and it's an exchange of value. The money kept circulating during the pandemic, and no one wants to account for that. I understand that workers don't have a living wage. I don't think that that's the answer, though. Who paid to build the internet that Amazon is not profitable? Look. Anyone who wants to deal with me on this populist thing and everything like that, I'll tell you the answer to it. And this is harsh. This is the thing that they'll probably cancel me for. Money is an exchange and acknowledgement of value. You know what I did when I was poor that's different than like what it took to be where I am today? I changed the value that I had to earn. I changed the value I could earn by changing the capacity. And so by that, I mean that I raised and elevated the value that I could produce for people. And also I made it so that I would be more valuable and useful to people with higher levels of disposable income. That is all that is required to change one's circumstances. All that is required to change one's circumstances is to change one's capacity. The same way with physical athletic ability. This is literally just like sports. This is my whole problem with people, is the psychology of being owed something and the psychology of something being a right rather than a consequence. There's a natural consequence for not having the ability to create a certain amount of value. And that would be true whether you're a human being or a beast of the field. That is a natural consequence of the way that the world exists and the fundamental laws of reality. And we don't get to subvert that just because we're human beings and we like to make shit up. Like there's so, I mean, my problem and my issue is, because I'm not saying, oh, we can't make society a little better. I'm saying that we can't take shortcuts to that, because what we have to do, because the thing is, if you just give people more money, you didn't change anything. You may have theoretically changed their circumstances.
You didn't fix the source. It's
exactly, fix the source of the problem.
Right, exactly. It's the same as taking a homeless person and putting them in a home and giving them everything. You still haven't fixed the source of the problem. You haven't figured out why that person ended up homeless in the first place. And
not to mention that, again, they're beholden to you at that point, because what if you decide, if you or someone say, no, give them all the ownership and everything like that? Well, they have to pay taxes on the house. So then if they haven't changed their capacity, how they're going to do that? If they don't have the knowledge to maintain the house, you create other problems for them. And I'm not saying, yes, those problems are preferable to being homeless. But again, you never addressed the fact that if you had empowered them, truly empowered them, it would mean that without your intervention any further beyond, they would always have the ability to produce a better circumstance than the one that they had. And that's my entire problem, is we are not addressing giving people a higher level of capacity. Resources are not enough, because someone with a lot of resources can still screw up. And then if they have no capacity to change their circumstances, they're beholden to whatever the natural consequences of the world are. But when you become stronger, it's not that the world got better. You did. When you improve, the world didn't get any better. Like in the last like 12 years, in like the last like however long since the last recession that I went through as an adult,
Mhm.
Like, no, Katie, paying someone a living wage is not empowering them. Giving them the knowledge that will produce generational wealth for their family empowers them. Giving them the knowledge in a trade that can never be taken from them is not empowering them, because if you give someone a living wage, it's only good until you fire them. If you give someone a living wage and then they're fired, or there's a pandemic, or the company goes under during mismanagement, you didn't help them.
Right.
You enabled them. You didn't empower them. You enabled them. You enabled them. You didn't empower them.
The thing is that not everybody needs to make the same amount. And that's really kind of what it comes down to, where it's like this idea that because I make less than you or I make more than you, that makes us unequal. And really, I mean, it's unequal numbers. Yeah, they're not the same numbers, but my life is not, the value of my life is not any different. If you believe that it's different, then it will be. It's kind of like, I mean, when I found myself in huge debt and I was unhappy about where I was, financially, and like with my life and like career, like all of these things, it really came down to me figuring out, hey, I have this huge amount of debt. I have this amount of money that's coming in and this amount of money that's coming out every month, and just doing the math. And once I figured it out, I realized that I needed to put in a change in my life, or else I would continue on the same exact path, expecting something to be different and remaining incredibly unhappy. And it wasn't until I started making those changes and making those sacrifices that I've reached the point where I'm at now, where I'm actually very happy. But not because like I reached the level of happiness that I wanted before I attained my financial goals. And I think that that's something that's really important to talk about, because my happiness was not...
It's not contingent on money. Money addresses some other external stresses in your life. But if you eliminate every external obstacle, what happens to all the internal obstacles that weren't necessarily exacerbated by the external? Because everyone thinks when they're in survivalist mode that that will be the end of their problems. And as someone who's lived with depression for the majority of their life now, I know that that's not the case. Like, I know that I'm just as vulnerable to the demons in my head, even more so now that I don't have the external stuff. The voices in the head got louder because there's nothing else aside from when I choose to work or hustle, which people even want to make that into a whole toxicity argument. And it's like, no, it saves my life, because there's just, you need to busy your mind. And there are people with different, if you're neurodivergent, then it's like, which a lot of people don't even know whether they are or not, like, because of the healthcare system. But like people don't understand that you will have to always account for your psychology, even if you don't have to account for anything in the material world. You will always have to account for your own psychology. And what people don't understand is that, yes, when you're working, when you're doing this, when you're dead, like, the thing is, you don't have enough time on your hands to be in your own head. You know, like, you don't have to be in your own head like that. And what people don't understand also is the argument with the, like, the material, like the circumstances of a living wage is, like, most people in America are not so destitute that they can't eat or anything. You're talking about an outlier situation. You're literally talking about an outlier situation.
Well, there
are less people that we've actually identified. There are less people that are unsheltered and homeless than there are incarcerated right now. And we need to address, if we don't address the fundamental problems that even lead from the school to prison pipeline, then we haven't solved anything. And a living wage doesn't address that either. That's why.
So if you think about refrigerators.
Yeah.
I would say that almost everybody in the US has a refrigerator or has access to a refrigerator. And that is a luxury item. Mm-hmm. That is a luxury item.
Yeah, if you've ever lived abroad, that's like, you know that, because the thing is, everything we complain about outside the United States, there are people living out on $1 a day. There are, what was it? Isn't there like 1.6 billion people in the world living off $1 a day? So there's like you want to talk about extreme poverty. you want to talk about extreme poverty, you can't really talk about the United States of America. If you were born in the United States of America, you rolled a 4, a 5, or a 6. If you were born anywhere else in the world except for Canada or the UK, you rolled a 3, a 2, or a 1 for the most part. Let me put it like this. If you were born outside the Western English-speaking world, like you rolled a 3, a 2, or a 1. At best, you would roll a 4 if you happen to be born the right gender, race, and religion somewhere else in the world. So like you so all the conditions you could roll for your character sheet, being born in America, you did fine. You did awesome. You have and I'll point that out because here's another thing. We want to talk about living wages and things like that. Immigrants come to this country and don't have a living wage. Immigrants come to this country and they don't get a living wage. Immigrants come to this country with every single disadvantage under the sun. And they, guess what? Within 1 to 2 generations, 3 at the most, they beat Americans who have been here the entire time with every chance to win.
Roberto, not even. My friend's boyfriend came here from another country 7 years ago. Not even 7 years ago, just shy of 7 years. 7 years ago, he owns a boat right now. Like he owns a boat. He goes fishing every weekend. He owns a house and he has a job and he's an investor and he has plans to start his own hedge fund company. 7 years. This man did not speak English 7 years ago.
That's amazing.
And so we're talking
about... Can I ask what country he was from?
Cuba.
That hustle. Yeah. That doesn't shock me.
So
my homie, like I have a friend who came here at like 8 from Cuba and everything like that. He used to be homeless. He's now a millionaire.
Okay, see, so
he's
this
a YouTuber.
Is what I'm talking about.
He's a YouTuber. He's not even a famous YouTuber. He doesn't even show his face, and he's a millionaire now.
So this is what I'm talking about. So we have people who are coming into this country, and just under a decade of living here, they're already what so many people call successful, living the luxurious life, making so much more than living wage and all these things. And then yet people who have gone to college here, graduated, lived their entire lives here, gone to college here, have graduated, have gotten internships, and a decade later, and they're still complaining about living paycheck to paycheck, not being able to pay rent, not being able to, having to eat cup of noodles every week. I just don't understand why that is happening.
My family almost went homeless.
We've got the two people, though. We've got these two sides of the coin here. Of people who have been here their entire lives and have gotten education here, who speak the language, right? Like
all these people that I see complaining that have 4-year degrees, I'm a community college dropout.
Right.
I got specific knowledge that and I have clients who are MBAs now. I have clients that are MBAs. I've had clients that are PhDs. I'm a community college dropout, and you know what?
It's because they're taking advantage of the opportunities.
Right, but my point is, I put myself in a position to where I can create value for these people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I have
but
a client,
because you're taking advantage of the opportunities that you have available to you.
And the thing is, I did it with less. Everyone's talking about the internet, and this and that and everything like that. I had a more primitive version of the internet than everybody today has. I had the most primitive version, and I was poor, so I had also the worst version of what a computer would be too.
Right. And
I made it. And I'm not pumping myself up. I'm telling you that I haven't used what makes me special. Everyone says, well, you're an exception. You both know me well enough to know I'm not using my galaxy brain to do any of this.
Right. Audrey, you're making faces over there. Is there anything you'd like to input into this?
Huh? Putting me on the spot. I mean,
you haven't talked for 20 minutes.
No, I mean, I agree with everything you guys said. I think it's frustrating.
We don't need you to agree. We just want to.
No. I mean, when you guys were talking about the like the US having so many more opportunities, that's definitely something that people who have maybe lived here for their whole lives or just haven't really been educated about international conditions may not realize. And I've seen that. I have a lot of friends who, either haven't left the country or they haven't cared to learn about like the world and stuff. And it definitely impacts your entire like work ethic and everything, just how you approach your daily life, because you don't think outside of what is normal to you. And I kind of think the education system failed a lot of people in that sense.
It did.
Because they don't teach about other countries and stuff. Like, you watch maybe documentaries and stuff in geo, but like that's not the same as actually, learning.
They teach about other countries in relation to our history.
Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the problem.
Right. Because we're still in an echo chamber.
Yeah, because like I mean, even if you can't afford to travel, which is completely understandable, they don't even really prioritize in schools teaching you they just teach you how the US is great, but they don't show you like
the American exceptionalism
comparison to like making you understand how lucky you are. Does that make sense?
Or not even lucky. Like how like I would say we should teach gratitude. We should teach gratitude, because my problem is the entitlement and what people think they deserve in this country for existing. For existing. What Americans are outraged by.
Immigrants.
Wait. Audrey's talking. Wait, what did she say?
Go for it.
No, I was saying because they don't teach this stuff or like talk about it that much in schools. It makes like so many people hesitant when it comes to immigrants and stuff, and it's just dumb because they haven't been like, their eyes haven't been open to like what the conditions are and like what these people's upbringing is and all that, which I don't know.
Can I say something super controversial?
This
is probably the most controversial hot take I've ever had. The thing is, like,
let me get the banner ready.
Now let me state this. Obviously, I'm from an immigrant family, so I'm obviously pro-immigrant. I'm not for open borders, though, but not for the reason people think. But I will tell you this: there is a part of me that almost wishes, but not like, I'm being somewhat facetious and sarcastic here. So like, /S here, /S here. If you opened up all the borders and we just like had open borders, it wouldn't be any kind of terrorism or disaster that would be the end of quote unquote America as we know it. It would be the fact that you would have an influx of people with such a great work ethic and so much gratitude for just plain old opportunity and making opportunity, and not legitimately, because again, you'd have to change some other things, but if they also legitimately were in a position where they don't feel quote unquote oppressed, and if you want, like, I really feel a certain kind of way about everybody, no offense to anybody, who's like not a black or brown person or an Asian American who like screams out how oppressed they are in America, really, or who's not from an immigrant culture or an immigrant family that screams about how oppressed they are in America. And then on top of that is not using a frame of reference to compare in countries where there's legit oppression and literal censorship. Someone who's not in Cuba right now where there's an actual revolution brewing and happening, or not in China where people literally are being oppressed, where people are being put into camps. It's like, I mean, for real. If America's borders opened tomorrow, there would be such an influx of people that have an actual discipline and actual work ethic and would be so grateful for everything that we complain for, that ironically, America as you know it would like disappear, but not in a bad way, in my opinion, because what would happen is nobody currently holding a job in America for the most part would probably have one anymore.
Yeah, it would be a different country.
It'd be a different, but not for the worst. It would just be for everybody right now who's complaining would be done, because what we think is insulting or degrading, or what we think is so oppressive, or what we think is so god awful. Anyone who comes to this country comes here and weeps for joy and gratitude at the opportunity to even try, and to actually have a country that won't outright murder them for praying to the wrong God, or won't literally sit there and decide their entire
strike,
or won't sit there and won't decide their entire fate because of their gender, will literally just assign them to being a third-class citizen or deny them rights based on their gender. Like, will not actually mutilate them based on their gender, won't possibly even murder them based on their gender. Like, to be able to live in that versus not, for everything that we complain about or feel is an insult or feel is a travesty in this country is a blessing to everybody else outside of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not for, let's just open all the borders. I know why people should be worried or concerned about that, because you know what would happen? Almost everyone holding a job in this country, almost everyone complaining in this country would not be able to compete because of the way that people who would come here would be so grateful for just the littlest thing that we take for granted. The littlest thing that we take for granted. We are so ridiculously blessed to live in the era, the time, and the circumstances that we have, and all we do is complain. And all we do is criticize. And I'm not saying we couldn't make it better. I'm saying
things can always be better. Always.
Yeah, things could always be better.
That is infinite. Yeah.
But I think we lack the humility to appreciate just how damn good we have it.
The gratitude and like, I think so. You don't even have to travel. I mean, it's not about needing to travel. Obviously that helps, but not everybody is able to. Like, we're talking about accessibility here, like in the literal sense, like not everybody is able to travel. But having the capability of learning about other cultures and learning about how other people live and kind of experiencing those things. We live in an age right now where we're able to do that. And having that knowledge has helped. I mean, I know people who have never even left the country, yet they have so much knowledge and culture, and have an understanding about how things work. And it's really because they've invested the time into reading and watching and learning and having an open mind to this information.
But one thing I've noticed with like why most Americans, I don't want to generalize, but like
sure,
don't really care to learn about other cultures and stuff, because there's a lot of this. I've noticed, like, I have family and stuff who have never left like their state, basically. Like, they don't really care to leave their state. They don't care to travel.
Yeah.
And I find that's something that a lot of like Americans are like. They just literally don't care because they've never had the need to care, which sounds terrible, but they're never really told about it in school. Their parents never really talk about it, so it's kind of like this never-ending cycle of, they just.
But I feel like a lot of countries feel that way. A lot of countries feel that way about their own selves.
Like someone abroad, you know how they have those on TV shows sometimes they'll be like, name this country, and like the Americans are always the ones who can't like name.
Well, like they can't, like people can't even name the states of the United States. They can't name the states of the United States. Like,
yeah,
I'd like both of you's like take on what like KDX said about, so other parts of the world are worse than America doesn't mean America doesn't need to work on its issues. Like, because like I don't like, I literally said, I think we literally said the opposite
Roberto
of that.
Roberto said, Roberto said, I literally said that we can always improve things. I think we said that multiple times. There's always improvement and there's always a way to do it, but it's the way that it's done. It's enabling people to complain rather than to, it doesn't come from empower them. Right. It doesn't come from a place of gratitude and the desire to improve based on that gratitude. It's coming from a place of resentment and entitlement, and really complaining, I
think that a natural law of inertia would dictate that your circumstances shouldn't necessarily improve without you also having to improve. And people don't like when I say that because, again, people have this sense of what they feel they deserve. And they have this, the concept of fairness to me is something that I had to, in order to face and deal with my own depression, I had to eliminate basically that word from my vocabulary in terms of what I expect to happen versus what I expect to do.
I think it's probably one of the best things you've ever done. It's like one of the best things you can do for yourself, you know?
Fairness is about what I do to other people, not what I expect to be done to me.
Right. Yeah. Because I had to do the same thing as a female because, you know, so many I receive so much stuff of like just people saying oh, but isn't it hard because like you're a girl, like isn't it so much harder because you're like all of these things, and I'm like no, like it has never been hard for me because I was never told, I was never expected that it would be hard for me because of my sex. It was just like,
which is not to discount that you haven't experienced specific things because of it.
Right, exactly.
Right. So that's not the same thing because people are going to jump. I'm only interrupting you because I know people are going to jump to conclusions.
Right. So that's not to say that I haven't faced adversity, but I haven't expected it, and I certainly don't expect to be treated differently just because I am aware of that adversity. And because of that, I think that like I've managed crews and teams that were 98% male, and I've been in charge and have not had any issues with that.
My parents didn't. My parents raised me in such a way as to not take my blackness as a liability.
And I think that's great, and it shows. And clearly, it's worked, right?
I have not victimized myself through my my identity as a person of color. It has only been something that is a source of pride in who I am as a person.
Right, it's your culture.
And it's my culture, and it's like, right. And so it's never been a source of shame. It's never been a source of victimhood for me. That is very different than saying I've never experienced, because I have experienced racism. I have experienced injustices as a result of it. And those were not natural consequences. Those were consequences society came up with. Because there's no natural penalty for like, you know, what you are if you happen to be a person who is fully abled. There are natural penalties as well as social penalties if you are someone with a disability, or if you're someone who is neurodivergent. There might be natural consequences as well as social consequences for that on some level, depending on what your situation or circumstances are as an individual. But generally speaking, like, it's not about fairness. It's about accepting that natural consequences for things exist. And what we have to do is we have to put people in a situation where we minimize what would happen for those consequences, but not artificially. We do that by empowering them, truly empowering them, by changing them, by increasing their capacity. Because without an external force, when that external force that artificially augmented your situation doesn't exist for one reason or another, well, what do you do then? That's my problem with the idea of a living wage versus enforcing trade skills and vocational training and always making that freely available for people. Because the thing is, you can lose a job, but you don't lose a vocation. You lose a trade. You don't lose skills that you acquired through your training and through your effort. You know, when I left my job in that fire me or I quit scenario, I was able to grow and prosper because I had skills that I could deploy. I didn't have resources to deploy. I had skills and knowledge that couldn't be taken from me. A job can be taken from you. Even a career can be taken from you. But your vocation, your profession, your skills, your trade craft can't be taken from you.
Yeah. You get to the top of the pyramid by laying down some bricks.
And we're not talking about exceptional children, because the point is what we're talking about is scalable.
Well, I don't know about you, Roberto, but I would say I'm exceptional. And I think my mother would agree.
I am, but I am saying the things we have done. What I'm saying is we can be exceptional, but I don't think the things we've deployed against are exceptional.
I kind of want to go back for a second here because I feel like this is sort of related. Can I plug in the company? I'm
Yeah,
gonna
that's
plug
what I
the
was
company
gonna
because I
say.
feel like it's kind of like so. MG Art says I've traveled but not outside the States yet. I would love to travel abroad when it's safe. So actually, there's this really cool company called virtualtrips.io. So if you go to virtualtrips.io, you guys can actually travel. Like it's literally what it says. It's virtual trips. So there's local guides and they live stream and you can go into chat and you can.
Is there any VR component?
Not yet. This is
Cool.
they haven't even been around for a year. And it's kind of it really feels, as someone who has done so many tours, like IRL tours, it really feels like you're there. And it's so cool because you get to engage with these people, these who are locals, who are just tour guides, and they're doing live streams. And it's free. And and obviously it's tip supported. So it's customary to kind of leave a tip, but you can leave, $5, $3, like you can leave however much you want. But I mean, it's really cool. So if you aren't able to travel, like really, if you're not able to travel, there's no excuse now because there is a platform that will take you anywhere in the world.
I'm going to take advantage of it.
There's over 70 locations now. So it's a lot of, so it's definitely like there's so many platforms and options available now to kind of expand.
What's the name of the website again?
So it's virtualtrips.io
Not
instead
sponsored.
of .com. Not sponsored. # not sponsored. But yeah, I mean, there's so many cool ways to learn and
we talk about people's like potential and stuff like that. You know what? Like people don't use their local library. Free internet access, all these books. You can even check out videos. There's so many resources at the public library. There are, depending on where you live, there's community centers and there's churches, and there's a lot of value and a lot of resources and things you can do with regard to that. People don't take advantage of everything they have there, and a lot of people are waiting for somebody to save them. And I'm sorry, like that's probably not going to happen. Certainly didn't happen in my case or for my family either. And like, I'm not saying it's not that you are not worthy of saving. I'm saying that the world, like, how many more years are you going to keep holding your breath and hoping this time? And that's my problem with like the thing that happened with the stock market and all of this stuff and everything else is everyone keeps thinking this time, something will change, something will different, when the thing that's going to change is you or not. The thing that's going to change, that's going to matter.
Yeah.
It better be you, because otherwise it's an empty promise. It's probably a scam.
You know what? That's actually, so one of the things that kind of made a really big shift in me was, all right, this is kind of sad. So BoJack Horseman. BoJack Horseman had a huge impact in my life. First of all, because it takes place in the world of Hollywood, but like the behind the scenes of it, which is
something you lived.
Yeah. And it's and it was incredibly relatable to me, but also the main character, BoJack Horseman, has a lot of inner demons. And one of them happens to be depression, if you will. And one of the lines in one of the episodes was, "You are responsible for your own happiness." And that line is so kind of simple, but it also hits so hard because it's ultimately up to me and it's under my control. And it's so much responsibility, because it's like you are responsible for your own happiness, not anybody else. And that's, but it really, and it's actually something that I have, like I have a wallpaper where I have those words on the wallpaper on my desktop that just says you are responsible for your own happiness. Because if I remember that, and if I look at that and I read it, I remember I'm feeling bad right now, but I am aware of it and I have to figure out how I can get out of this funk. whether it's talking to people, which I have in the past, whether it's, you know, going out for a walk or figuring out my finances, like whatever it is that I need to do, I know that I am in full control of how I feel. And that really kind of, that line definitely puts it into perspective to me every time. And I remember it every time. I mean, the show kind of went, the show jumped the shark after like season 3. So
yeah, I think that your BoJack Horseman is my Neon Genesis Evangelion. Because I'm an anime guy.
Yeah. Well, I've been watching that. Justin's been making me watch that.
Oh yeah, Netflix. Like yeah, it's like in a weird way, it was a anime that I think, I don't think anyone who is in their active depression should ever watch it, to be honest with you, while they're in their active
oh yeah, just like BoJack.
Yeah,
if you are actively depressed, do not watch.
It should come with a warning label. God.
Yeah, for real.
I'm not even joking. Like, there's shows that should come with a warning label and should come with trigger warnings, and like I think both of those qualify. Like Evangelion really is the entire show is a trigger warning. I'm not even being sarcastic. That's the worst.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my God. But the thing is, it was for me, in watching the main character Shinji Ikari, I felt a lot. I resonated with his relationship with his father a lot. Sad to say.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of could say my father was a little bit of a Gendo Ikari, but or at least it felt that way. The who had his own issues. Really, he was depressed as well. Like, you know.
Yeah.
The thing that was interesting to me was this concept of self-imposed isolation, even around being around people, but being utterly alone is a feeling I resonated with. And the concept that we literally create active barriers to connecting with other people. That was something that I resonated with. And this idea of like how much this person was willing to go through and sacrifice and give literal pieces of themselves just for any shred of praise or acceptance, like that changed me when I realized like that, wow, that being that, having that lack of self-respect, that lack of
that kind of ties into
self-worth.
our topic.
Yeah, self-worth, like not having any self-worth. Like Shinji Ikari is the embodiment of not having any self-worth and only feel you're valuable if people acknowledge you and tell you that you're valuable, and your only value is like in his case it's like, oh, my only value is that I can pilot the Ava and I can protect and save people, and if I'm not an Ava pilot, then I'm nothing. I have no worth, I have no value. He, like, that was so depressing to think about, but also I realized that, wait a minute, so for a lot of my life I had put my value into my job title or the role that I played in somebody's life in terms of the way in which they acknowledge me or something like that, or the thing that I do for them. And I realized, well, damn, you know, that was really depressing. It was really sobering, but also it resonated with me because he, at the price of, if he couldn't have acceptance and had to be isolated and alone, it got to the point to where it's not that he didn't even want to exist anymore. It's that he didn't want the world to exist anymore because of the amount of hurt that it had done him.
Hold on. Just to bring a little bit of levity into this. What, the Funimation bought Crunchyroll?
I already knew about
when did that?
Yeah, I already knew about that.
Did that?
It's recent.
I will say, all right, I don't like trashing brands or companies publicly, but I will say Crunchyroll is probably like one of the worst streaming platforms.
In what way?
It's horrible. Are you subscribed on Crunchyroll?
Yeah, paid subscription.
It's bad. Have you ever tried canceling your subscription?
No, you know, Romina, you know very well I don't cancel subscriptions.
All right, well then that's why you haven't experienced this. Their UI, like their customer support is horrible. It's pretty bad. Like it's just bad overall. I mean, it's great because they provide a lot of great content that is not available in a lot of other places.
I feel that it's better than Hulu.
Okay, listen. I
I
would
pay
have
for
said
Hulu and still get ads.
all right, but yeah, but you paid for cable before too, and you still got ads. Nobody ever complained about that, but suddenly you
I
pay
did complain
$8
about
for
it.
Hulu.
I did complain about it constantly. And the thing is,
Right.
like, again, there was a point where I only got cable, like, for my sisters because I could have done without cable television completely after.
No, of course you could. No, I know. But I'm saying as a child, I mean, you grew up with cable and people used to pay cable and have tons of commercials. Now we just
I had
have
the bare
one or
minimum
two
though,
ads.
because I only watched PBS and Nickelodeon.
All right. Well, see, look, this is entitlement, Roberto. You're complaining about commercials.
Look, I got you. I got you. And by the way, back then that would have meant I wasn't paying for it, and back then it was cheap as hell. Back then.
Okay. All right. But
Just remember, we're talking about a different time. And remember, you could actually, back then, you could watch TV for free and have a couple of good channels. You could have like 20 good channels without paying for anything. Remember that?
Wait, okay, yeah. You don't need to yell at me. But listen, on Crunchyroll, so one of the reasons that I was on Crunchyroll was to watch Attack on Titan. But but Hulu has Attack on Titan too, and they have the new Attack on Titan at the same like it comes out at the same time as it does in Japan. So it's so there's
it was due to licensing,
So there's no point to paying Crunchyroll now. That's like what?
Well,
like
there is because I could watch Over the Moon for You, and
I see, because you're like into all the obscure.
I'm a straight up weeaboo.
Yeah,
so
you're doing. Yeah, all right, okay.
I don't know what we're talking about.
I've
never used Crunchyroll.
You have no
try out the free
reason to
version.
use Crunchyroll.
Now, Audrey, we can convert Audrey to anime.
I've been watching Avatar with my roommates.
Oh well, there you go. Avatar is a good gateway. Avatar is not quite anime, but it's anime-esque enough for us to. Oh,
right,
Audrey,
for those
watch.
Of you who are just listening, you didn't see the face I just made.
Audrey, watch Dragon Prince when you get a chance. It's by the same studio that made Avatar and the same voice cast too. Watch Dragon Prince.
Look, she has a spreadsheet of over 100 films that she needs to watch.
But she also needs to watch cartoons.
Yeah, there's cartoons on the list.
Okay.
Get her to watch some of the classics first.
I've been slacking since I moved.
But yeah. Oh. By the way, everybody, again, do not watch BoJack Horseman or Evangelion if you're depressed. I cannot stress that enough.
The trigger warning.
I'm not even. No, those shows should straight up have trigger warnings. I'm not even joking anymore.
Audrey, that was the face. That was the face of someone who does not think that Avatar. All right, I'm not even.
No. That was before. That was when someone walked in and you like made a face.
Oh. Okay, yeah. That's why you sent it privately.
Look,
okay,
like Evangelion is literally like the worst. Like the ending is literally like the worst possible scenario is what happens. The worst thing that could happen is what happens.
Well, I think also too, there's the thing about BoJack as well is that you have a character who basically has everything, that you could possibly want, and he still is unhappy and unable to live a fulfilled life. And so if you're depressed and can't get out of a hole, it will be tough to watch that, because essentially you're watching a character succeed and still be unhappy.
But that's like probably the most true reflection of the human condition, is that our happiness is not predicated on that. Right.
But we can say that from an outside perspective, because we're able to rationalize our emotions in a way that someone who has, deep or chronic depression isn't able to do.
I can take the James Apple question because it's actually like brilliant.
Yeah, I was just gonna look at that. Hey, let's have Audrey read the question since she's been so quiet.
All right. Are the terms of freedom of speech and monopoly of one platforms in the context of social media companies and hardware tech companies?
So people have made a terrible mistake in the assumption that it's an issue of speech when it comes to these platforms. These platforms are not in that business because they're in the real estate business. These platforms are literally in the real estate business. It'd be like thinking McDonald's is a food company when it's really in the real estate business. Watch the movie The Founder. But yeah.
Oh man, yeah. That that one scene where he freaking mixes where she mixes the milkshake. She puts the powder in the water at the restaurant. Oh my god, I nearly barfed. I was like, I can't. I was like, this is I cannot believe.
Watch the Founder.
This is
but here's
look, it's not really a spoiler because a lot of people. Well, I mean,
no, they were talking about. I think they were saying spoiler alert for Evangelion.
Oh right, no, I'm talking to Audrey because she's asking about it, and so there's just like this part where this lady introduces the milkshakes to the founder, to the guy who's in charge of McDonald's at the time. He wasn't the founder, but and it's just, she just grabs it. She pulls like a little pouch that has powder from her purse, and then like she's at a fancy restaurant, right, with like tablecloths and like silverware and all this stuff, and she has like this glass of water, and she just pours the powder into the water, and then she grabs her fork and she just stirs it, and suddenly there's a milkshake. And so she's like, here. No, it's not amazing because it's not a real milkshake.
It's terrible. It's
what
god-awful.
Is it? It's like
it's an abomination. That's what.
It's like chemicals. Like if there's not ice cream, if there's not milk, and if there's not ice, then it is not a milkshake.
Ugh, I'm cringing. Just like, oh god. Ugh. Just but to go back to the question. Yeah, let's
go back to the real.
To go back to the question, the thing is, the platforms are not publishers, and the thing is, Title 230 or whatever doesn't really fit the context of what we're talking about in the modern era in terms of digital platforms and social media, because the reality is, and if you even actually look and you analyze it, and I've even talked to lawyers about this, and like the thing is, they had a lot of them until I said it, they're like, now everything makes sense to me, because they said, oh, from a litigious standpoint, all the things that apply to the business model of someone who goes into real estate actually apply to this whole social media thing, and even some of the value and benefits you guys get as content creators who are like closer to publishers than the platforms would ever be. Like, because the lawyers agreed with me that, number one, because especially I was talking to my lawyer, he's like, from a legal liability standpoint, all of us as content creators would be more vulnerable to the conditions that you would be vulnerable to as a publisher. We're John Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man, like not YouTube, not Twitter, no, we are Jameson in that scenario. Like our brand is the Daily Bugle. The platforms are just the real estate. They're just the real estate. And the thing is, you can have your publishing company and your magazine, your paper, your TV show or whatever, but it's like, the thing is, the platform you're on is the venue. It is the physical location. It is literally the real estate. And the thing is, when you go and you rent out, because we've done events before, like when we did Create RRL and stuff like that. When you rent out a venue, in theory, you could say whatever you want, but if you do and you're not in compliance with the venue, they have every right to have you leave, because you're using in their private property, you're using their stage, you're using their chairs, their seats, their whatever. So if you don't build your own thing, then that's the issue. Because and people are like, but no, it's the truth. If I go out and I buy up land and I build a concert hall or a stage, and literally it's in the public, but I'm not using public funds or money and all that nonsense. It's mine. I own it, and no one's disputing the ownership. But I allow people to use my stage and have events and so on and so forth. I have the right and at my discretion to say who is and is not prohibited to do that, and also to set the rules, terms, and conditions for who can use the stage that I built with my wood and my nails and my thing, especially if I'm not charging them for it, or even if I am. Even if we're doing a revenue split of the tickets or the gate, I still can say no. And I have every right. And I'm not silencing you because you can build your own damn stage, or you can go say it somewhere else.
You're silencing me. I'm kidding. Yeah, that was fire.
It's real estate. It's literally real estate.
Right. It's the freedom to conduct business in the way that you would like to. And it's also,
and the right to association is part of the First Amendment too.
Right, exactly. And freedom of the press has got nothing to do with it. So it's just kind of like your
landlord can still kick you out if you're a journalist.
Right. Exactly. And I agree 100% with everything that you just said. But I also do want to add MG Art just said, I'm careful of shows that are triggering. I made the mistake of watching some shows in the past that were a bit triggering. So I think it's good that we actually did do a trigger warning for people who weren't aware. BoJack is a great show, and so is I'm blanking. What were we talking about? What show were we
the anime one?
Evangelion, yeah. So, both of those, they're great, but again, could be triggering. But that's what you get. Yeah. That's what you get with entertainment.
Facts. With this last question that James Apple asks, so Apple and companies like that are monopoly due to the antitrust lawsuits. The antitrust lawsuits, whether they go any way or not, I'm not a lawyer, but you will literally just make them more powerful, because here's the problem that we have. Our current monopolies are not because of, in truth, anti-competitive behavior by the companies, but they're a result of meritocracy. We have monopolies of meritocracy in technology now, because it is literally just like a shonen anime like Dragon Ball Z, where you have what's called power scaling and power creep. You have power scaling and power creep. Once Goku and Vegeta hit Super Saiyan, everyone else became irrelevant. Once they hit Super Saiyan, and again, you have to watch anime to get this reference, but there's a point where, all right, and if you're not someone who follows anime, from a sports analogy standpoint, if you ain't Usain Bolt, it doesn't matter. If you aren't LeBron James, it don't matter. Like, it's like, so there are monopolies of meritocracy to where something is so big and so desirable that no one wants to use what is second or third place, but also that's because what's second and third place are trash. There are plenty of alternatives to YouTube. YouTube has plenty of competitors. They're all trash, and that's why they don't keep funding or they go out of business. VidMe was trash. Vessel was trash. Vidler,
hey, don't touch VidMe.
Like, you know, I know the former CEO and founder of Vidler. It's like, it was just not going to hold a candle to YouTube. And it wasn't because of anti-competitive behavior. It was that they could not build an app that was, look, if like, to be real, I don't know how long, if it wasn't for this whole debacle, I don't know how long these competitors to Robinhood would have even lasted just for not having a user base. For not having a user base, because there's a point where you can't go any further and you can't scale and you can't add new features because you don't have the resources, and that's either because you didn't get acquired or because you don't have a user base that financially justifies that.
Look, I will say, when you are in a big city, you will often see Starbucks, and two storefronts down, you will see a mom and pop coffee shop, and it is packed to the brim. So you're going to tell me that because there's a Starbucks there, that business is not going to do well, that coffee shop isn't going to do well? Like, no. If you have good coffee and if you got good, you know, if you're doing it right, then people are going to go to your coffee shop. If you have something to where you can, now again, you will not be as successful as Starbucks, but of course you wouldn't. But that doesn't mean, if you're that good mom and pop place, you're still a mom and pop place. It's a different level of success. Yeah.
Right. So like in the Dragon Ball Z reference, I'm not saying that Tien Shinhan and Krillin aren't great, warriors. They're still great warriors, great fighters. They're the strongest men, humans on Earth. They are still planet busters. They could still destroy planets, but they can't destroy galaxies and universes like a Super Saiyan can, or like a god of destruction can. So there's tiers here. And so from that standpoint, that is just meritocracy. None of us want to use Bing or Yahoo. We just straight up don't. We just don't want to use them. Like, we don't want to use
the only reason
Internet
I
Explorer.
had my Yahoo account for as long as I did was because I was on Flickr.
I mean, do y'all really want to use Internet Explorer? Or do you want to use Firefox and Chrome?
Oh my God, Audrey, get out.
I'm kidding.
Like, no one wants to use Internet Explorer. No one wants to use Bing. No one wants to use Yahoo.
Here's the thing. One of my favorite coffee shops is literally right across. Like, when I sit there, I see the Starbucks across the street.
Yeah.
Never, ever have I been to the Starbucks.
Right.
And I'm just, and it's not because I'm just like, anti-establishment or like anti, big companies or anything like that. Like, I don't go out of my way to support smaller businesses or things like that. Like, it's not something that's on my agenda really, but they just have really great cafe lattes and tea. They have really great tea, and it's like, and just the ambiance is better. So it's just like, I'm there because it's just better than going to Starbucks. And I have technology. I have Starbucks rewards card. So I actually get points, and I get free stuff at Starbucks all the time. So it's not even about like the money or like the cost of things, because like I'm a perfect example of why it's just about exactly what KDX says. It's about the experience and the quality.
And that's what my point is like, yes, the experience and the quality. So the thing is, there is nothing that is going to give me the experience and quality of YouTube. There's nothing that's going to give me the experience and quality of most of these things that we call monopoly. Because the thing is, they're not a monopoly because they're anti-competitive, regardless of whatever the lawsuit says or whatever. And I don't care. Here's the thing. I don't care about how powerful they are. I really don't. Because it's none of my business as long as they're giving me value that I want. I do not have some philosophical, ethical, or moral quandary debate in my head about them being too powerful, because the reality is they provide me what I want. And they have a superior product.
James said, if you have a superior product.
That's why I said it's a monopoly of meritocracy. I think if you are so good that no one is willing to, and you sacrificed and suffered so much that you ascended to a level of godlike power, and you vanquished all of your enemies, you deserve to be all powerful, like, because you won Mortal Kombat. So there, that's just what it is. It's like, if you literally like get to that point, if you're like, it's the Achilles thing. Is there no one else? It wasn't that, like, people were there. They could have challenged you. They could have came for the crown. What happened? They lost. They lost. That's what happened. So
see, people need to play Monopoly more often. If they just played Monopoly, they would see what's up.
I mean, it's like,
is that the conclusion of
for real though? It kind of is. Well, it kind of takes us back. It's to like, it's like we keep insisting that there's this whole, it's unfair. But the thing is, when you're good enough, even when they rig the game, you would win if you were good enough. And I'm not saying you should rig the game, and I'm not saying rigging should be allowed or anything. I'm just saying that's like, there are people who win rigged games. There are people who overcome insurmountable odds because they were that good. And I'm not saying, get good, or that you should have to be that good. I'm saying that there's a natural consequence for things. And the thing is, when we decide to artificially try to divert that inertia or subvert those consequences, subvert the laws of equivalent exchange and things like that, all we're doing is conceding. There's a point where, okay, if I can't compete, if I can't make something better than somebody, I shouldn't it's fine if there are people who want to support me. It's fine if I'm a mom and pop business and like people want to support me. It's fine if I'm a boutique agency and I have a niche thing. But the thing is, I shouldn't necessarily try to compete with Walmart or Starbucks. I should try to create a branded, unique experience. So instead of, for the anime fans out there and everything like that, instead of like trying to chase after Like, there was a point, you know, when Vegeta started doing good in Dragon Ball Z, he started doing good when he stopped comparing himself to Goku. When he stopped comparing himself to Goku and he found his own damn identity and he decided to truly be his own man, at that point and only at that point did he have the right to call himself the Prince of all Saiyans once again. Because at that point, he wasn't chasing after a peasant anymore. He decided to take his rightful place by being his own man and ascending on his own terms in his own way. You know, so we don't need clones of the best. We don't need another clone of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. TikTok won because it did its own thing. It didn't even really become a clone of Vine. It did its own thing and it built its own brand and its own culture, and it created its own stars.
It was a clone of Musical.ly.
No, it acquired Musical.ly. It was a mutation. It was the evolution. It was the evolution of Musical.ly. It was Musical.ly going Super Saiyan.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah.
Speaking of evolution, should we wrap up this podcast?
It's been 2 hours.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's our anniversary, so we were allowed.
It's our anniversary. What was the excuse the other 4 times we've gone over?
It was our
just cause. But but my point is, like, in general, this all came back to the conversation, though, to wrap things up, to kind of bookend this, even with where we started.
My dinosaurs need to go to sleep.
Yeah, me too. I need to edit, then I can go to sleep. But like the point that I want to bookend this on where we started was people lose when they try to take shortcuts. People lose when they try to take shortcuts. The laws of equivalent exchange will not be cheated. You can disagree with that if you want to, and you could say, well, look at what so-and-so did or whatever, but that's got nothing really to do with you. If you want things to change, you have to change yourself. You can't just decide that everything else in the world needs to change, but that you're unwilling to. And the thing is, if you do that, you will be truly empowered. If you educate yourself about personal finance, you won't chase meme stocks and overnight success because you'll be able to make sober choices. Romina, like this week, we made sober choices in the market. And unlike people who chased the meme and the hype, we won in the market over the last couple of weeks because we were making sober choices because we're educated and we took the time to educate ourselves. We didn't leave it up to a system. We didn't leave it up to anybody else. We made a choice that it was a priority.
We're also not trying to rig.
Yeah, that too.
We're also not trying to rig it.
We're not trying to rig it. We're not trying to hurt billionaires. We're trying to help ourselves. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
So, like, because again,
if anything, I want to help billionaires because they're helping me in some way.
Well, they're like, I need
trickling down.
Look, to be real with you, I need all this value they're creating because I'm using all their shit.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, yeah, Elon, here, take some more.
Yeah, right. You know, that Tesla I'm gonna get for my midlife crisis, right?
Ooh,
for my midlife crisis.
Oh. Well,
that's another conversation.
All right, yeah.
But yeah, yeah. So I mean,
do you have an outro? Audrey, do you have any last thoughts while Roberto's thinking about an outro?
Did you see the screenshot I sent you?
Where?
Private chat, I guess.
Oh my god. Oh no.
Oh wait, it's on the phone.
It's in the text. Yeah.
I just tweeted it.
KDX says, great conversation, guys. I look forward to the show every week. Peace out. Yeah.
All good.
MGR says, good night, everyone.
Night.
Thanks, guys. If you really enjoy the show, then you can show us by leaving a 5-star review on Apple.
Indeed.
And subscribing. Subscribe. YouTube.com/.
Yes, please subscribe.
No Assembly Pod. But
yes,
anyway,
please
Roberto's going to take us out.
Yes. Thank you for listening to the No Assembly Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. No audience members were harmed in the filming of this episode. Only the meme stocks were harmed by themselves. Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. With Apple, you cannot do it on Spotify because they're lazy bums who will never take out YouTube no matter how hard they try. Thank you for listening. This has been your trio of hosts. including Rominosaurus, not Rex, Audrey rises from the ashes Ember, and Papa Roberto, your personal dark lord of the internet, here to usher you into empowering yourself by taking no shortcuts and suffering for your success. Because you're either working for your dreams or somebody else's, and damn it, if you're gonna work for somebody else's, it better be mine. Anyway, we are signing off. We will see you next week at 8 p.m. ish Eastern Standard Time. Nope.